They said it was impossible. They said India would never rise. Were they blind or just afraid? While the world looked away, something extraordinary began rising from Indian soil. Something so powerful, so unstoppable, that those who dismissed it will spend lifetimes regretting their short-sightedness. They called India too poor, too crowded, too chaotic to ever compete with the giants. But here's what they didn't see coming. $5 trillion poured into infrastructure over the next decade. Roads slicing through the Himalayas, bullet trains connecting megacities, ports that rival Singapore, airports that shame Dubai, digital networks reaching the remotest villages. This isn't money borrowed from the West or begged from international banks. This is India investing in itself with pure vision and unbreakable determination. The world refused to notice, but history is watching. Because what India builds today doesn't just transform one nation, it transforms the entire world order. This is the story they never wanted you to hear, and it begins not on Earth, but in the stars themselves. In August 2023, India became the fourth nation to land on the moon. But they didn't just land anywhere. They landed where no one else could. The moon's south pole, where superpowers had crashed and burned, where mission after mission had failed. Chandrayaan-3 touched down gently, perfectly in a place the world thought was unconquerable. India had become the fourth nation to land on the moon. But what happened next would send shockwaves far beyond the scientific community, spending only $75 million for the mission. Think about that for a moment. While NASA had spent nearly $3 billion on their Mars mission, India had reached the moon for less than the budget of a single Hollywood blockbuster. The same price tag as a superhero movie, and India had just conquered one of humanity's greatest frontiers. Western media scrambled for explanations. They called it luck, fortune, a fluke, anything but what it truly was. Because accepting the truth meant acknowledging something they weren't ready to face, that Indian scientists had achieved with limited resources what others couldn't accomplish with unlimited budgets. This wasn't luck. This was pure Indian genius, defying every constraint, breaking every expectation, making miracles happen against all odds. The moon was just India's opening statement. By 2027, 3 Indians will soar into space aboard Gaganyaan. And with that launch, India would enter the rarest club in human history. Until now, only America, Russia, and China have sent their own people to space independently. But India is about to shatter that monopoly with Indian rockets, Indian spacecraft, and Indian mission control guiding every moment. Every single component has been designed in Bengaluru, built in Indian factories, and tested by Indian hands. 200 years of British rule couldn't crush the Indian spirit. Did anyone really think poverty could? By 2035, an Indian space station will orbit the Earth. By 2040, Indian boots will walk on the moon. India is developing reusable rockets that will make space accessible to all humanity. While others profit from space, India opens it for everyone. And here's what makes it even more remarkable. ISRO runs on just $1.6 billion every year. NASA gets $25 billion. Yet with a fraction of the budget, India lands on the moon, launches satellites for over 30 countries, and prepares to send Indians to space. This isn't just efficiency. This is excellence forged in fire. The West can keep its fat budgets. India keeps changing the universe. But if conquering the moon amazes you, wait until you see what rises from Indian Earth. The Mumbai to Ahmedabad bullet train. This isn't just another railway line. This is India declaring to the world that second-class infrastructure is over. 508 kilometers of pure speed, 320 kilometers per hour. That's 200 miles per hour. The journey that took 7 exhausting hours now takes just 2 comfortable hours between India's money capital and its factory powerhouse. The engineering is breathtaking. 21 kilometers of tunnels carved straight through mountains. One tunnel runs 7 kilometers deep, 250 meters below mountain peaks. Deeper than a 70-story building is tall. Indians don't go around obstacles. Indians drill through them. 24 bridges cross rivers, including a massive 1.4-kilometer span over the sacred Narmada River. Nearly a mile of concrete and steel carrying trains at 320 kilometers per hour. Yes, Japan gave the technology, but India builds it at costs that make developed nations question everything they know about infrastructure. $17 billion, done by 2026, carrying 40,000 passengers every single day. This is just the first. 7 high-speed corridors will soon connect the entire nation like never before. They said bullet trains were impossible in India. Indians didn't waste time arguing. Indians simply built it. And if that doesn't silence the doubters, look at what stands tall in Gujarat. The Statue of Unity. 182 meters of bronze pride honoring Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Iron Man who united India when cynics predicted the country would fall apart. The world's tallest statue, not by a little, by double. The Statue of Liberty stands at 93 meters. This is literally twice that height. But the statue was just the beginning. India built an entire complex around it. Hotels, convention centers, museums, all connected by a 300-meter bridge across the Narmada. Inside the statue, at 153 meters high, visitors look out over valleys and the mighty Sardar Sarovar Dam. 25 million people have visited since 2018, built in just 33 months, from bare ground to the world's tallest statue in less than 3 years. Cost, $430 million. Similar projects in other countries take decades and cost billions more. India delivered it on time, on budget, and with unmatched magnificence. This wasn't just construction. This was a promise kept. When India commits, India delivers. Now watch what India builds for its financial future. Gift City in Gujarat. When Singapore became Asia's financial capital, they said no Asian nation could ever match it. Wrong again. India didn't match it. India is surpassing it. 886 acres of futuristic towers, underground utilities, sensor-managed infrastructure, all designed to compete directly with London, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Dubai. India's first completely operational smart city. Not planning documents, reality. Over 500 global companies already operate here. JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple. They came because they see what others refuse to accept. India's rise is inevitable. 1 million square meters of office space, 100,000 residents when complete. Phase 1? Already functioning. Indians working. Businesses thriving. The goal? Capture 20% of India's financial services by 2030. That's $1 trillion in opportunity. Indians don't dream in millions anymore. Indians dream in trillions. Now look up. See what Indian determination builds in the sky. Navi Mumbai International Airport, one of the world's largest airports when finished, built entirely on land that didn't exist. 1,160 hectares reclaimed from the ocean. Think about that. 2,866 acres of land created by flattening hills and filling the sea. 2 massive runways, each 3.7 kilometers long, big enough for the world's largest planes. The terminal? 710,000 square meters. Bigger than 100 Walmart stores combined. Larger than Dubai's Terminal 3, currently the biggest in the world. Capacity? 90 million passengers every year, making it India's busiest airport. Mumbai becomes the first Indian city with 2 international airports. Investment? $3.5 billion. Opened in October 2025. They said Indians couldn't manage world-class airports. Now India builds airports that make the world jealous, but infrastructure is just the foundation. India's real revolution targets tomorrow. The India Semiconductor mission. $10 billion to make India a global chip manufacturing giant. Right now, the world depends dangerously on Taiwan, South Korea, and China for computer chips. One crisis away from collapse. India saw the weakness and seized the opportunity. 3 massive chip factories already approved. Tata Group is building a $14 billion facility in Gujarat. CG Power partnered with Japan. Micron Technology invested $2.75 billion. When operational, these factories will produce billions of chips every year. Not assembling foreign chips. Manufacturing them. Complete process, silicon to finished product. Here's the secret weapon. India already has 20% of the world's chip design talent. Qualcomm, Intel, NVIDIA all have design centers in India. Now the manufacturing comes home too. The target? Become a top 5 chip producer globally by 2030, just 5 years away. With Indian brains, Indian money, and Indian determination, it's already done. This isn't about making chips. This is about technological freedom, about making sure when the world needs technology, they need India. The British looted India's wealth for 2 centuries. Now India builds wealth that cannot be stolen, only respected. The veins connecting this revolution are equally stunning. The Delhi to Mumbai Industrial Corridor. $100 billion, 1,500 kilometers of industrial power. 24 brand new smart cities rising from dust, not expanding old towns, creating new cities from zero, AI-powered infrastructure, automated systems, green technology, covering 150,000 square kilometers, bigger than the entire state of Pennsylvania, touching 6 Indian states, housing 180 million people, built specifically as India's manufacturing backbone. Freight trains, 8-lane highways, factory clusters all linked seamlessly. The mission? Grow manufacturing from 16% to 25% of the economy. That's $400 billion added every year. Japan is investing heavily. The World Bank too, because they understand. India is building the infrastructure to rival China's manufacturing might. While China grows old, India grows strong. The world wanted cheap labor from India. India gives them advanced manufacturing instead. Sagarmala, the necklace of ports around India's 7,500-kilometer coastline. 67 ports being modernized or built fresh. $120 billion poured into ports, shipping routes, and waterways. Major ports doubling capacity, automated systems handling millions of tons, coastal shipping routes moving cargo by sea instead of trucks. 60% cost savings. When complete, these ports will handle 3.5 billion tons every year, triple the current capacity, saving $35 billion annually in transport costs. India once ruled the seas through the Chola dynasty. That maritime power returns now through modern ports that will make India the logistics heart of Asia. And the highways. Oh, the highways tell the greatest story. Bharatmala, 83,677 kilometers of roads, enough to wrap around the earth twice. 44 economic corridors, 9,000 kilometers of border security roads, 2,000 kilometers of coastal highways. India builds 37 kilometers of highway every single day. That's 23 miles daily, like building the length of Manhattan every day. 13,500 kilometers every year. The Delhi to Mumbai Expressway, India's first true 8-lane superhighway. 1,380 kilometers, cutting drive time from 24 hours to just 12. 8 interchanges, 9 tunnels cutting through mountains. The longest tunnel runs 3.6 kilometers through Rajasthan peaks. Total investment? $108 billion. The result? Logistics costs drop 20 to 25% nationwide. That's $100 billion saved every year. Sections are already open. Indians are driving on these roads today. The British built railways to drain India's wealth. Independent India builds expressways to create wealth. Now understand this stunning truth. Everything just described isn't planned for some distant future. It's happening right now, this very moment. Bullet trains, smart cities, highways, ports, airports, chip factories, moon missions, all together, all at once. China took 30 years for its infrastructure boom. India is doing it in 10 years. And here's what makes it even more remarkable. China built through dictatorship. India builds through democracy. Yet India moves just as fast. Why? Because when 1.4 billion Indians unite behind a dream, nothing on this planet can stop them. India now invests 8% of its economy in infrastructure, $250 billion every year. America? Just 2.5%. India invests 3 times more. Results? 10,000 kilometers of highway built in 2023 alone. That's New York to Los Angeles and back, and halfway again in just 1 year. The World Bank predicts India becomes the world's third largest economy by 2027. Bigger than Japan, bigger than Germany. This infrastructure makes that future certain. But this revolution is bigger than economics. It's about India reclaiming its place as a civilization leader, proving that democracy isn't weakness, but strength, showing the world that massive development is possible while keeping freedom alive. India doesn't copy anyone. India writes its own story. And when India succeeds, and success is guaranteed, it proves something the world needs to see: that freedom and progress can march together when powered by Indian values. From the Himalayan peaks to the Indian Ocean waves, from Gift City's glass towers to Chandrayaan's moon landing, the future that others denied India is being built by Indian hands. This is the awakening. This is the transformation. This is India's century beginning. The British said Indians couldn't govern themselves. Indians built the world's largest democracy. The West said India was too poor to develop. Indians are building the world's boldest infrastructure. The doubters said India would always be behind. Indians are now leading. Every tunnel through mountains, every kilometer of highway, every satellite in orbit, every chip manufactured, every port expanded, every city rising. These aren't just projects. These are declarations of intent. India was never weak. India was only preparing. The preparation is over. The world that ignored India will now witness something unstoppable. Not through war, through work, not through threats, through achievement, not through conquest, through construction. This is India's infrastructure revolution. This is India's resurrection. This is what every Indian always knew would arrive. India's time has come. The question was never whether India would rise. The only question now is this: is the world ready for what India is becoming?